question would be, you paid for the prostitution, you paid sex for money, here's the $100, the sexual favor was there, and you walked away. Sir, what was your thought process there? What happened to the $100? Well, I gave it to the girl, the one smiling, the one who moaned and said she liked it. And I went away. I said, great. Then no harm, no foul. That's prostitution. I'm not going to get up on that soapbox. Right? I don't have to. I said, but here's the thing. That's what it used to be. And it used to be that because the girl would come in and have sex, and every now and again a guy would get violent, beat her up. So she went over and found another guy, just as violent, and said, hey, out of the $100, I'm going to give you 10. Keep me from getting beat up. What a sweet job that is. I just got to stand outside the door looking mean, making $10. By the way, these girls will be with 30 to 40 guys a day. That's good money, even at $10, right? So, time passed. That was back in 1910, right? That was when San Francisco was settled. 18s, whatever. So, what has transpired, and then over the last 5, 6, 7 years has dramatically changed, is that the pimp went, I'm going to need $20. Because he just got greedy. And the girl still didn't want to get beat up. Because we guys can always beat up the girl. And that 20 went to 30, went to 40, went to 50, went to 60, went to 70, went to 80, went to 90, and now it's all $100. She gets nothing. Did you hear that girl? He took me to McDonald's. Rolled me up in the dollar menu. And then, my goodness, what did she say? But I was happy. So, if I now decide I'm going to get a hotel room, and I'm going to get on Backpage.com, which is nothing but G-strings, cover-over shots, and it'll say massage parlor, and some of them just tell you exactly what's going to happen. It's legal. It's not a law enforcement issue, although the FBI is paying particular attention to it, but running an ad is not a problem. And so I order this girl up to my motel room like a pizza. She'll probably get there quicker than Domino's. I'm not kidding. Now I got my $100 in hand. I've scrolled the internet to find out, what am I in the mood for today? African American, Asian, skinny chick, fat chick, Asian chick. What? I'm telling you what. Do I want pepperoni or sausage? Green peppers? Order it up. It comes to the room. I got my $100 there. And I give her the $100. She gives it to the pimp. I don't know that, but here's the reality that I teach the men, and here's the change. I say, listen, if you pay her for sex, and then you have sex with her, but the money goes to somebody else, why did she have sex with you? I love talking to Jillian on this. We're about to cut a video on it, because what Jillian told me was when a man would come into the hotel room, her mind was going, oh my gosh, he's wearing a wedding ring. What do his kids think, right? She's just thinking all these horrible things about this guy. What a loser, right? Here I am, I'm going to get raped by another guy. In fact, she says, I wouldn't have sex with you for money. That's what Jillian told me. That's what she would be thinking. So if that mentality is what's in bed, and I'm about to have sex with that mentality, then what's happened there? She has been coerced, manipulated, threatened with physical abuse, threatened with death. Now, I don't know if there's any lawyers in the rooms, but I know that the law enforcement will agree with me. By definition, that's rape. That's rape. It's rape. On my trucks, I wrap them. They're all billboard. That's life-size, by the way. This is what I'm now putting in truck stops across the country. And what this says is, stop the selling of rape. Because I want men to know what they're buying. That's what prostitution was sex for money. Now it is sex for rape. All right? And it's just that simple, because we guys are pretty simple. I know you ladies can do 12, 15 things at a time, but we guys can only do one. We need it simple. And so we just need the simple understanding that prostitution was sex for money, and now prostitution is sex for rape. And you can have sex with my daughter, my sister, my mother, my wife, but you are not going to rape any of them. And it's just that simple. So now instead of 10 guys sitting there waiting to buy 10 bottles of Tide, if I've already talked to them, there's no guys there. Or maybe there's one heartless dude who is a rapist. By the way, that's a pretty small percentage as well, right? So, just with that understanding alone, how many girls could actually be saved? Because they never had to enter the market to begin with, because there was no money being offered, therefore there's no reason for them to get in. And how many guys, if one guy has a prostitute once a month, how many times is that girl not going to get raped? Each guy we can change in this way. It's very powerful. Please use it. Use the tool of the photographs, but also educate men. Does it really work, Bo? Yes, it does. I'll give you just a couple of stories. A very wealthy businessman wanted to meet with me for lunch. We hadn't had lunch in a while. He had some business questions, just wants some business advice. We sit down at lunch. He goes through his whole deal. I give him the advice. And then he makes the fatal mistake of saying, what do you do now? Because I've just disappeared off the face of the business earth to do this. And I said, oh, human trafficking. Really, what's that? So I explained to him what human trafficking is over the course of about 10 minutes. Just rapid fire. And he goes, does that exist in this town? And we were in a small town, about 30,000 people. What was twice the size of Knoxville, maybe, 3 times. But he says, is that here? I said, oh yeah, absolutely. I said, 2 miles from where we're sitting in this restaurant is a little Asian parlor right down the street. And I said, all those Asian massage parlors, those are nothing but brothels, whorehouses. And they just, those girls, they're like Oompa Loompas. They're never allowed to leave the factory. Nobody ever comes. Nobody ever goes. He said, what? And I said, yeah. I said, those girls, the 2 girls that are there now were just swapped out. There were 3 girls there recently, and they swapped them out, and they got to keep it going. They want the girls unsettled, and so they're constantly moving them. And I said, but if you go there, and I said, by the way, I've already staked the place out, because I don't know, I get sick pleasure in that. I've already staked it out, and I've seen that there's one particular car there that the madam drives. And then the owner of the place, he comes and goes about once a week trying to pick up the money. But the girls never come and go. Nobody picks them up at 1 o'clock when the place closes. And then I drove by there one day, and the back door was cracked open for some reason, and I could see a couple of laundry washer and dryers and a couple of mattresses. I mean, these girls are living in there full time. Well, this guy starts crying. I'm like, wow, I must have really put together a good, man. I'm on fire. And I said, dude, what are you crying about? He said, I go to that place. Now listen, he's 55 years old, he's never been married, and he has no children. All right? I'm going to give him a break for finding his solace somewhere. Again, I'm not going to step up on the pedestal. But what that man realized was, as I was talking, he'd been raping some girls. And it was tearing him completely out of his frame. That man recently just called me up and said, hey, I was talking to this law enforcement officer who's in charge of trafficking up in this city, and I've already set up a meeting for you guys. I mean, he's on fire for it. Because a man, that's shame. That's shame. He was ignorant to the fact. But now he's got to live with it. And so now he's actually, not only is he never going there again, and by the way, he called me up 3 weeks after I had that lunch with him, and he goes, I went back to that place. And I was like, what do you mean you went back? I thought I belonged it. And he said, yeah, I went back. And I sat in that parking lot for hours, and you're right, they never came. Nobody ever took those girls home. Nobody dropped them off. You were right. Just, guys, radically changed. He's just a normal guy. He's just a normal guy. And so through that change now comes somebody who is actually wanting to step forward and fight. If nothing else, trying to right the wrong that is now in his heart. Does that make sense to everybody? Right? And just think, if he was going once a month, and he was, how many of those girls are not going to get raped? Just by him. Now, I brought up the fact that those girls are moved. They just replaced the 3 with 2. And I now understand why that is. Because you would think that's a supply issue. We're moving them around. We want them in a different city. We've taken their IDs, and all that truly does happen. That's 100% correct. But let me blow your mind a little bit so that you can understand the real power of demand for the victim, demand for the sex. The reason those girls were swapped out is because the men get tired of it. The customers, the clients get tired of it. This is killing my fantasy. I had to have this fantasy already. Last month, the month before that. Can you not change my fantasy for me? If I wanted to sleep with the same woman, I'd be home with my wife. Right? How's that for truth? How's that for reality? So, if you understand the movement of the business plan, the movement of this product, you know, you got to have a tie, and then you got to have an extra strength tie. And then you got to have a tie that smells a certain way, and then you got to have a, that's a bad example, everybody loves to smell a tie. But you know, I mean, Cheer's going to run out there spring scent, right? It's the same thing. Break it down to a product. Understand what's being sold, understand what's being bought, and grab a hold of that, and then let that go out. Are you surprised that it's that simple? I was. I was. Very surprised. I'm going to just speak for a couple of minutes. I just want to give you a couple of stories that'll fall into some awareness for you to take home to your families. Social media, wonderful way to manipulate, coerce one of these young girls. Another way that's happening in the suburbs, and I would consider, you know, Knoxville, Davie County kind of suburbs, rural. A male and female posing as a husband and wife. Here's a fun stat for you ladies. 46% of pimps and handlers are women. 46%.